Here are 8 more of the most common misconceptions about the Quran. Many of them are quite common and are thought to be established facts by some people with the intention of respecting the Book of Allah. But we cannot say that something is bad or haram if there's no proof for it. So watch out for these 8 points. Number 1. Putting the Mus'haf on the ground. If you are in a situation where someone had to temporarily place the Mus'haf on the ground, this should not be a problem. It is not haram or disrespectful. In certain situations, like when reciting while sitting on the ground, you may need to perform sujud at-tilawa, for example. In such cases, it might be more practical to temporarily place the Mus'haf beside you on the ground. Ideally, it is indeed better to place it on a chair or a shelf, but these may not be always available everywhere. So if you need to place the Mus'haf on the ground temporarily for a certain purpose, ensure that it is on a clean spot, away from the risk of being stepped or stumbled upon by others. So obviously, we don't mean that we put the Mus'haf on the ground as its permanent spot, because this would obviously be unacceptable. Number 2. Covering up when reciting. This mainly concerns sisters, that it is not mandatory or required to observe hijab when reciting the Quran, as long as you are at home, of course. The important thing, which also concerns brothers as well, is to have appropriate clothes on out of respect for the action you're doing, which is reciting the word of Allah. Number 3. Dropping the Mus'haf. If you accidentally drop the Mus'haf, some people think you should give kaffara, certain amount of grain, kiss the Mus'haf, say astaghfirullah and other things, while in fact, you are not required to do anything if you drop the Mus'haf, except pick it up, of course. Obviously, no one does this on purpose, and we should be careful with it. But if it did happen, you have not committed a sin, and you are not supposed to do any of these things to rectify the situation. And I have to specifically mention that we should not do what is called the minor sujud, which is kissing the Mus'haf and then putting it against the forehead. This is wrong and was never reported on the Prophet nor any of his companions. Number 4. Placing the Mus'haf on your lap. When reciting in a sitting position, you may tend to place or rest the Mus'haf on your thighs or on your lap to recite from it. Unlike what some people think, there is absolutely nothing wrong with this. Rest the Mus'haf on your lap whether you're sitting on the ground or on a chair or even lying down. Your lap, legs, or thighs are parts of your body. There is no disrespect if the Mus'haf touched your body. Number 5. Reciting toward the Qibla. Some people think that if you are to recite the Quran, that you must face the Qibla. Again, not true. The Prophet, peace be upon him, recited the Quran in all directions, even lying down, and not specifically in the direction of the Qibla. And it was reported that he recited Surah Qaf from the Mimbar, which is known to not face the Qibla. Having said that, it is indeed better if you can face the Qibla out of respect, and since it is also a form of ibadah. But again, if you didn't do it, there is nothing wrong with it. Recite in whichever position that is easier to you. The important thing is that you do recite. Number 6. Sitting higher than someone reciting. If you sit or sleep at a higher level than the Quran, or higher than someone who is reciting the Quran, some people would consider this to be haram or disrespectful. But there's nothing wrong with sitting on a chair while someone else is seated on the floor or reading the Quran. There is neither a form of debasement of the Quran nor a form of disrespect. Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, said, the Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, would recite the Quran while his head was in my lap and I was menstruating. So there isn't anything wrong with this whatsoever. And the same can be said with number 7. If it happened that your leg or feet are stretching in the direction of the Mus'haf or the shelf where the Mus'haf is kept, or leaning against the bookshelf where Mus'haf is kept, you're not disrespecting the Mus'haf or giving the Mus'haf your back. There should not be any issues with this. And last, number 8, having the Mus'haf in your backpack. Again, there's no blame if a student is carrying his Mus'haf in his backpack. However, one has to be considerate that his bag is clean, you're not carrying shoes or something of the sort in it, and that it is not stepped upon or handled carelessly. Finally, while the intention is certainly good with any of these points, if we make up rules ourselves and dictate them on others and force them to follow them with no basis or proof, it might have some negative effects on others rather than positive ones. And worst of all, make something that is very easy and simple to do much more complicated than it is. Thanks for watching. If you want to start learning the tajweed, then start with this playlist. And also, don't forget to check my latest book about tajweed and download the companion app. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.